Hi, I'm Reverend Zach.
And I'm Matt.
And welcome to This Movie Was a Hot Dog, a podcast where me and a friend of mine watch a bad movie, critically, financially, or otherwise. Then we break it down, review it, and tell you what we think. This week we watched 2013's Escape Plan, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone, directed by an Eastern European guy no one's ever heard of. I looked up his filmography, and it was a bunch of 5 things I've never heard of.
Does he have a website?
You mean like Pierce Brosnan does?
Pierce Brosnan and
Arnold Schwarzenegger, but his site, did you go on it?
Yeah, and I also went to SylvesterStallone.com.
SylvesterStallone.com compared to ArnoldSchwarzenegger.com? Arnold Schwarzenegger seems to have like a very active website.
Really? I haven't been there yet. Let's go.
Yeah, he's got fitness articles. He's got articles about...
That's right. It's Schwarzenegger.com, not just ArnoldSchwarzenegger.com.
Yeah, because there's so many of those. But anyway, so we watched Escape Plan, which is basically a prison break movie. Now, me and Matt have very differentiating ideas about this movie. I loved it.
I didn't love it, but I thought it was pretty good.
Okay, before we get into it, let's make this clear. When I say I love it, I mean like... This was really cheesy. It was really campy, in my opinion. And if you go into the mindset of this being an 80s movie that somebody made in 2013, I think it works, and I think it's really good. And with me saying that, if that sounds appealing to you, stop listening right now and go watch the movie, because we're going to spoil the whole goddamn thing.
As we do all the movies.
As we do all the movies. But if, like, this one, as opposed to, like, Blood Glacier, like, who the fuck cared what happened at the end of Blood Glacier? Just, spoiler alert,
still don't.
Spoiler alert, there's a dog baby.
Right.
But anyway, Matt, do you want to take us into Escape Plan?
Sure, but first, back to Arnold Schwarzenegger's website.
Yeah.
All of the his front page is like full of little trailer clips, and all the little blurbs of them are written in the first person. I hope he actually wrote them.
Wait, what is it? Wait, what? What did they say?
This is the trailer for my new film, Maggie. I'm really proud of this new film. I think it's the most human zombie film you've ever seen, and it's my most human role. Like,
oh my God!
Like, Arnold Schwarzenegger is like, I don't know. This is definitely the best of the websites. Pierce Brosnan's also has a foreword that is written in the first person. Sylvester Stallone's, I don't think he knows he has a website.
Sylvester Stallone's just looks like a dictionary article. Like, it's a picture of him, and then, like, Sylvester Stallone is an action movie star. Like,
and then just a bunch of pictures, so yeah.
A bunch of pictures. But anyway, first, before we get into it, in your opinion, not knowing right now, was this movie a hit?
I feel like it made money just sheerly out of the names.
Well, the answer would be yes. It cost $50 million. It made 137, and it opened in third place.
Yeah, I would call that a hit. Not like smashing, but pretty. Usually doubling in box office I would call that definitely a hit.
And that's pretty good for a movie that opened in third place.
Yeah, and for a movie featuring 2 withering skeletons escaping from a prison.
But I think they pull it off. Okay, we'll get into that. Matt, take us away.
Okay, so we start out, Sylvester Stallone's in jail. I'm immediately confused because I thought he was supposed to be... Because in the trailer, as I remember, I thought he was supposed to be like the world's greatest prison architect. And so right away, I'm like, was he not? Shit. Like, what? The trailer's been so long ago. Yeah.
Am I thinking of a different movie? What movie is this?
So we see a montage of him, like, he's clearly doing plans to break out of prison, because what does anybody do if they're in prison in a movie?
Also, the movie's called Escape Plan, about a man in prison.
So right away, the title just spoils it. So if you're going to watch this movie, don't look at the title.
Don't look at the title. Don't know who's in it.
Don't listen to us. Don't do anything. In fact, if you're listening to this podcast right now, just stop listening.
Kill yourself, because you know too much already.
Okay. So, we have a long montage of him doing escape plans, and none of the stuff makes any sense.
Like where, okay.
Like the big wads of toilet paper?
Yes, that's what I was just going to say.
Of course it was, because that is what anybody thinks.
Wait. We got to talk about it, though. So, he's trying to break out of a prison, and he's trying to plug up a lock with a bunch of toilet paper so the door won't actually lock.
Well, we don't know that.
Right, we now know this.
All we see is, like, around the rim of his sink, like 10 little half-inch balls of wadded up toilet paper, like wet clumps of toilet paper. And he's just doing that, and it's like, what the fuck are you doing?
But here's why it's so dumb, though. Because
that is what it is.
No, it's not. Will you listen to me for a second?
No.
That's not why it's so dumb.
Okay.
Because he's rolling up all these. So he's basically just going to put toilet paper into a lock so the lock can't lock. All he would have to do is get a bunch of toilet paper, like one big wad, smash it up, and put it in the lock. Mm-hmm. Instead, he makes 10 tiny balls of toilet paper, then wraps them all into one layer of toilet paper, and then he just squeezes them together. Why did he make all those little balls?
He's in prison. He's bored.
So you think it was less about the plan and more like, I'll just stretch this out so I have something to do?
Definitely, dude.
But yes, the fact that he's just wadding up toilet paper, meanwhile there's like action music playing.
Yeah. Like they're really trying to build up all these things, and then like, and you're just looking at it. And so normally, like, in a movie like Ocean's 11, you can kind of follow along, like, what the little pieces are going into, and you can kind of guess at the background stuff. And there's, like, a little bit of surprise, like, maybe 20% of the plot is like, oh, and then that connects the little dots, then that makes sense. This, like, you see him with toilet paper, you see him with, like, a milk carton that he smashes up, and then you see him shanking a guy in a prison yard. And you're like, what do all these things have to do with getting him out? And so I'm still like, maybe he doesn't. Like, I don't know what he's supposed to do.
Well, later on we'll find out that he's using his superpower that I'll explain later.
His superpower, which is
architect vision.
Yep.
That's what it is.
I guess.
we'll get into it.
See him in Marvel's next movie, The Architect. Anyway, so then we see Holly from The Office get out of a car, and she's walking away from it, and it's like, oh shit, this is the escape plan. This is his person on the outside. Like, shit's about to go down. And then the car blows up, and then you're like, okay, now I'm 100% sure. So then you're ready for him to be like, all right, he's going to grab his little toilet paper balls or whatever, and like, we're going to see what happens.
Throw them at a guard and kill him with it somehow.
Right, he's just going to throw it through a guard, and it's just going to burst through his body like a shotgun blast and splatter his guts against the wall. It's just like, boom, Sylvester Stallone!
My muscles are this powerful!
But instead, like, the guards look at his cell, and he's gone. Like, and you're like, I thought all this was going to build up to something, but apparently just none of it is, and he's just going to be out. And so,
it gets to that.
So thankfully, eventually they get to it. But at first, it's like, well, why even show all that other dumb shit then? But so he gets out. He's driven by his two accomplices to a phone booth in the middle of nowhere.
Who's his other accomplice, Matt?
Zach, I think you seem so excited to tell us.
It's 50 Cent, the rap artist, and he is in this movie for what, a total of 4 minutes?
I mean, do you know how much money he makes in a year?
But, like, why have him in it at all? He's in the movie for 4 minutes.
Puff Daddy was really good in Get Him to the Greek.
But he was in it for a long time. He had scenes where he said interesting things and did Puff Daddy-related stuff. 50 Cent goes, I'm the black computer guy because...
Yep. Nope. Completely forgettable character.
So he gets out of this car after they drive him away from the prison.
Also, side note, I just have to admit something. I had no idea that was 50 Cent. And now that you point out that it was him, it's like, God, that added nothing to the movie for me.
Why did you not bring that up 20 minutes ago when I told you on the phone?
Oh, because I thought it'd be fun to do it here.
Okay. Fair enough. So yeah, that did absolutely nothing for me.
Nothing at all.
So he gets out of his car and he calls in Vincent D'Onofrio for some reason.
Right? Just why the hell is it him?
Why is it? And Vincent D'Onofrio
For
is
those
another.
of you who don't know who Vincent D'Onofrio is, because I wouldn't know him by name, he's the guy from Law and Order who's like super particular about everything.
Law and Order, Criminal Intent.
Criminal Intent, right.
So Vincent D'Onofrio is one of those actors that I think falls into the category of he walks on screen and you go, oh, the bad guy.
Yeah, he really is. Like he doesn't look like he's your friend at any point.
Nor does he sound like it.
No.
And he's got like his head is way too round. Oh, he's also the guy who shoots himself in the beginning of Full Metal Jacket.
Right.
Yeah, that's him.
That's him.
So, bad guy, his first major movie, he was the bad guy. So, he walks in and I'm like, oh, the bad guy's here. And they meet the warden of the prison he just escaped from, and he explains his escape plan, basically.
And he goes, hey, warden, so I just wadded up a bunch of toilet paper, and then and the warden goes, why didn't you just do one big ball? I don't...
Why did you make all the little ones?
He does not ask that, but he should have.
Why didn't you just make one big... Oh, also, we forgot to explain. Stallone works for the Federal Bureau of Prisons, and they hire him to go into a prison without anybody knowing and escape from it so that they can improve on the prison systems and make them escape-proof.
So, and a lot of industries do this. Like, computer security will hire white hat hackers to try and break into their security, like banks and things like that. I don't think that there actually is a white hat equivalent prison break architect.
Well, because
that would be retarded.
Also, while he is in these prisons, he's actually committing real crime. He's committing real crimes.
So we'll I guess go into that while we explain his escape plan. So Stallone, in his infinite architect prison vision wisdom.
Yes, this is where he activates his superpower of architect vision, where for brief moments he sees in blueprints.
I think that's just an effect for the audience.
Well, I know that he actually, yes, I understand that he didn't get bitten by a radioactive blueprint, and now he has the ability to see buildings that way.
I thought he was bitten by a radioactive prison.
That's the dumbest thing you could have said. So
agree to disagree.
He'll be standing somewhere and he'll just be looking around, and suddenly the room around him will become a blueprint. But anyway.
But that's like a super common whatever. You seem to be really stuck up about that. I don't know.
Later on, when he's trying to figure out where they are on the Earth, he knows way too much, and he's using that architect vision too much.
So the whole plan of his escape is he uses his wadded up toilet paper to block the kind of window, like when they try to latch that shut after getting the guard's attention. And then he knows that the guard is going to smoke for 6 minutes a day, and that the isolation ward is understaffed.
And that he knows their brand of chocolate milk that they serve, because he knows that has a special wax laminate inside that can duplicate...
We're not even there yet!
I'm sorry. God. This is the first 5 minutes of the movie. We're spending entirely too much time on it.
I know you are, so stop. So he blocks off the lock so that he can reach his arm out and punch in the code. He acquired the code, Zach, by putting the little laminate of the chocolate milk on another keypad, and then he pulled it off later and was able to study it, listening to the keypad sounds going off their pitch and going off the numbers that he saw on the little laminate thing. So he punches those in, and then he runs into the camera room, which is just completely unmonitored because apparently both guards in the isolation area had to take their smoke break at once.
Federal workers, man.
Federal workers working on that pension. So he runs in there and just puts his camera, his self-feedback camera, on a loop to show him just kind of hanging out, head down, doing nothing. and then he's just already booking it through the prison infrastructure when the bomb goes off. And the bad design of the prison is that the isolation ward is right next to the fire area of the prison, and so he's able to get his hands on a fire suit and just join the guys responding to the car explosion out front. So as the fire truck rolls out, he peels off in full uniform and joins Michael Scott's wife in the getaway vehicle.
So the problems I have with him, this being his job, they commit crimes while they're doing this. Not like escaping out of prison, but the Federal Bureau of Prisons knows about it, so it's fine. He stabs a guy in prison. Then Holly blows up a car, which could have easily killed somebody or her. You can't do that.
You can't?
No, yeah, believe it or not.
But come on, he's doing stuff for the government. Surely you can just stab some inmate in the government.
They're already in jail, and as we learn from every movie about prisons, they don't understand the fundamental reason for prisons.
Yeah. What are you not getting about this?
No prison is like, this is to reform people so we can let them out. It's always we lock them up forever, and if they kill each other, great, one less mouth to feed.
God, there's so many mouths to feed.
So he gets out, he gets paid for escaping that prison. There's a bunch of bullshit exposition we're not even going to bother going through.
And the exposition is bullshit, and the acting is awful, and all of it is garbage, and I hate it.
So he gets approached by this woman who's like, there's this ultra super duper prison. We want you to go in there and break out. And he goes, okay. So
and
the
let's
next
just
thing
leave it at that. And so then he's off to go have his rendezvous to go to ultra prison. And he gets kidnapped by Vinnie Jones. And when he walks on screen, I'm just like, what? Yeah, I thought that was pretty good too. I was kind of amazed. Like he just
this movie has a lot of weird people not cameos.
Who didn't need to be name brand actors,
right?
Are name brand actors.
Like Vinnie Jones is the heavy, which I mean that's all he plays, so sure, but it's just weird. And then Jim Caviezel
I kind of accepted him as the heavy though, like because he does play someone that you want to see. Because you know at the end Stallone's gonna one-on-one him because that's how
right exactly. As soon as he walks on, you see that
exactly. So it's like Steve Austin in the Expendables. Right. Like I think you want a name brand guy for him. I don't.
But
yeah.
But 50 Cent didn't need to be in
Not
this.
At all.
Jim Caviezel, who is Jesus Christ in Temptation of the Christ, is in this as the warden.
Right.
Then Sam Neill from Jurassic Park is in it. He comes on screen. I was like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
So Vinnie Jones knocks him out, and then he just wakes up in mega jail.
And he just, yeah. And along the way, he watches the guy get murdered in a helicopter as well.
Which is just doesn't matter and doesn't ever add up to anything.
I just thought it was fun.
So his fake name is Portis, Portis, which is really funny because Arnold Schwarzenegger calls him Portis every other word, and he can barely say that word. Like he
so
can
you think
barely.
Like on the first day of reading the script, they should have been like, Arnold can't say this. We should change his name.
Yeah, like, let's call him, like, Craig or something.
No,
like,
because they wanted him to be the fourth musketeer.
I know. They explain it so that it's a code name, but
Got you, idiot.
Pick a code name he can fucking say.
No.
So
speaking of things that we see once and never see again, Stallone gets to his cell and the giant 10-eye camera ball pokes in and looks at him. You never see that again.
That looks like a giant, like, dice for D&D.
Yep, and it's got, like, 10 camera eyes and just, like, for the sake of nothing.
So he wakes up, he's in this prison, he doesn't know why he's there. The warden pulls him in and goes like, all right, Portis, you're here because something. And he's like, oh, my evacuation code is something, because Stallone still thinks this is a job and he can just get out. But the warden doesn't have any idea what he's talking about, which is stupid, because they reverse that halfway through the movie, so why do that at all?
No, I don't know. Yeah, because he admits later on that he knows him, but yeah.
Then why have the whole charade in the beginning?
Because he wants to have the charade, I don't know.
So, basically, in a nutshell, he ends up at this prison because Vincent D'Onofrio wants to keep him there forever.
I still don't know why.
I was going to ask you, do you know why? I don't think they ever explain it.
They pretend that they explained it, but they
But
never...
all they end up going is Vincent D'Onofrio put you in here and he wanted you to never get out, and they never tell you why.
Yeah, which is just insane because, again, Stallone, like, he... I don't get it.
I don't either. At the because I had seen this once before, and I was like, I don't remember why they put him in there. And when they get to the parts where they sort of talk about it, they never actually talk about it.
Because, so, the guy, he plays basically the accountant for Stallone's, like, we break out of prisons and prove you can corporation. And so, like, Stallone is the moneymaker within this. So what Vincent D'Onofrio does is he essentially, like, picture a manufacturing plant, and he just fires everybody on the floor and is like, yes, now I'm the king of the corporation. And it's like, so now what? Like, how do you plan to make money? It's like, well, I don't know, but right now I am the king.
That is the best analogy. And then when I get Pam's chair, I'll have 2 chairs. One more to go.
One more to go, baby.
So take us away.
And so once he's in prison, so you know how, so there's a bunch of things just bother me about this, and I'm just going to try and go through a quick list of them.
Just go ahead, just list them.
Okay, so this prison is described as like where we keep people who, if we didn't just want to kill them, like if we could just kill them, we would. Otherwise, we just want them here. We don't want anyone to know about them. We don't care about justice or law or anything. This prison should carry, like, almost 90% Muslims just from the American government. Like, it should just be where the Muslims go. And it's just almost all just pretty normal-looking white guys.
Well, is it supposed to be implied that everybody in this prison was, one, either paid to be... Well, no, it's not even that. Everybody in this prison must know something, right?
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
Why they're there?
And that's why they're there, because otherwise you just fucking kill them.
I don't even understand why they don't just kill them anyway.
So, I feel like
so,
Arnold Schwarzenegger's character is the best explanation I have for that.
He's the only explanation for that.
He's the only prisoner whose backstory we know. So,
yeah, well, I mean, let's say you're Vincent D'Onofrio. Just kill Stallone. Put him in that prison.
Yes.
Tell him, just throw him overboard. Oops, spoiler alert. Kill him, and that's it.
Gosh,
Why put him in the prison at all?
So he makes no sense. Don't even try and understand Vincent D'Onofrio's motivation, because at no point does he approach anything close to rational thought. So don't worry about that. But Arnold Schwarzenegger is supposed to be a close associate of essentially a financial terrorist who's trying to create, like, if you think of Fight Club, and I'm just going to ruin Fight Club for everybody, Tyler...
Oh, a movie that came out 20 years ago?
Some people haven't seen it. But anyway, so Fight Club is all about, like, destroying the financial system and setting everything back to zero. So Arnold Schwarzenegger is working with an international terrorist who's trying to write a computer virus that'll just ruin the world banking and set everybody back to zero and equalize everything. And so Arnold Schwarzenegger he's their only lead on this guy, and he's not talking. So they just throw him in super jail, and for some reason aren't just constantly torturing him. I don't get it. But
right. Other than the fact that this place is, like, designed differently, all the guards wear spooky masks, and that they don't know where they are, this prison really isn't any different from any other prison.
Exactly. And that's the thing that kind of bothered me. Like, there's a lot of little aesthetics that are different. So Stallone arrives. So the basic cells that everybody stays in are plexiglass boxes, and they're arranged in clusters of 4. And there's probably, when they first pan out, there's maybe like 50 clusters of 4 that you can see. And so everybody is in a cell by themselves. Their cells are completely transparent, so it's not like you can sit there plotting something without being seen, and you also can't jack off. Sorry, people next to you.
Well, and you can, but people just have to watch.
So you get no privacy. So there's that. They still get, like, quote-unquote yard time in a fashion where they're all in just a giant communal area. They still have cafeteria time. And that's part of what I don't get. If this is supposed to be like super secret isolation max prison, they would have completely destroyed all of Stallone's escape plan if they just left everybody in their cells. Because the whole reason for yard time in the cafeteria and stuff like that is for humane treatment of prisoners, which is only necessary in a prison that has oversight. You don't need this prison has no oversight. You can put all these people in like 6x6 boxes.
Well, there's a couple things here. One, we need to make the point that this entire prison is inside. They're not outside. It's entirely enclosed. They don't see the sunlight through most of the movie. The other thing is that I agree with you is like, also, if all of these are supposed to be like the world's super criminals, why would you ever let them talk to one another? Like, that it seems like it turns out to be the worst idea.
Literally everything about the communal time makes no sense, and I don't get it.
No, I don't either. So he arrives at Mega Jail. He's not walking out of his cell, and the warden over the microphone goes, "Portis, get out of your cell." And Arnold Schwarzenegger hears that and immediately starts becoming friends with him.
Yeah, and it's funny too because at every point the guards try to be as brutal as possible. They're constantly beating prisoners, but then when Stallone stalls on leaving his cell, they're just like, "Hey, get out of there! What are you doing?" They don't just beat the shit out of him and drive him out of there with a baton,
which they just end up doing anyway later.
Yeah.
So I will say that Arnold, because he's getting older and he still tries to do those. Hey, I'm 68 years old, but I can still be in an action movie, which he cannot. I appreciated him in this movie where he's just an old grayed-haired German man with a beard, and he's kind of broad-shouldered, but other than that, he doesn't really be like, "I'm gonna lift a car."
Continuing on with the initial stuff of him getting into the prison, though, one of the things that I thought was funny is how, in most movies where people go to prison, the whole thing is seek out the toughest guy and kick his ass, and so I feel like in this movie the guards almost do that, because the first time Stallone goes to the yard, the guards just drag out this huge dude who has just had the shit kicked out of him, and then just leave him there, and then just fucking that's your introduction to the guards for the most part. Turns out the guards are the toughest gang in the prison.
And it doesn't take long for Stallone and Schwarzenegger to be working together. So Arnold Schwarzenegger won't leave him alone. And he's like, "Hey, if you need anything, just let me know." And finally Stallone's like, "Okay, I need to get into isolation." So he's like, Great, no problem. So then they just wrestle.
No, he goes, "Great, no problem." Then he socks him in the jaw.
He does. And they fight for a little while. The guards then beat them up even more and then drag them to isolation, which is a human-sized Easy Bake Oven.
That's exactly how I put it. I am so glad that you said that. That is literally how I put it in my notes. It is just a metal box with a super bright light on one side.
That is deliberately there to dehydrate them. So they're in there for what appears to be a day at least, but they should be dead.
Here's the thing. I feel like they do a terrible job of conveying time in this at all.
They do. They really do. Well, because you don't get to see the sun. So what is a day here?
And so it's hard for them to show any kind of significant montage of it's hard for you to relate to what Sylvester Stallone's going through at all. Because you just see him going I'm kind of sweaty now, after I've been in here for X amount of time. And so up through so far, this doesn't seem like a terrible place. They don't do a good job at all of imparting this experience. And so I'm pretty up at this point. I don't think I'm kind of against the movie, when I'm watching it.
So they're in the Easy Bake Oven for, I don't know, a couple minutes, days, who knows?
Long enough to make them sweat.
And then Sam Neill shows up just to remind everybody that he hasn't been in anything since Jurassic Park. And he's playing Dr. Sympathy. And he goes up to Stallone and he's like, "Hey, let me check, make sure you're not dying." And this is the beginning of where you can tell, Stallone's going to become friends with the doctor.
You know that right away.
Like, they telegraph that by just the fact that the doctor isn't some random dude.
Well, and also the biggest thing is, like, the doctor is the first person you see on prison staff who's not in a full set of body armor with a plain black face mask. That's the thing about the guards. The guards are all meant to be as uniform and as possible to make it so that a prisoner can't try and figure out the routine of certain guards or relate to certain guards, so that none of them have any kind of dose of humanity at all. Which also comes through cinematically as like, oh shit, this jail is very different from other jails. So I thought that was a pretty good bit. It's kind of dumb that they just completely dress down the doctor.
Yeah, so he's asking the doctor, I forget what he asks him, but he's trying to form a relationship with him right away.
Mostly he's just like, where am I? Or no, he was like, right. He asks him, he's like, how can you do this? You're a fucking doctor.
Basically. And Vinnie Jones is like, doctor, get away from there. So the doctor walks away, and Vinnie Jones is like, doctor, what was he asking you? And he goes, he was asking me how
he was
dehydrated.
Asking me a lie. He was lying and I lied.
No, he was asking me how dehydrated he was compared to the other people. What a terrible bullshit lie. Why would anybody ask that?
They're really competitive.
That's the best thing he could come up with. He could have just been like, he asked me what day it was, and I told him I wasn't sure. Or he asked me how dehydrated he was compared to Schwarzenegger. That's so obviously a lie.
So I want to go back to the fight real quick. Has there ever been a fight on camera between Stallone and Schwarzenegger?
No, this was the
fight.
This was the first movie they have been in together that hasn't been an Expendables movie.
And so this is the first movie where Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone fight, and it comes roughly 35 years later than we wanted it to.
Anybody wanted it. The moment you've all been waiting for. 2 70-year-old men punch each other.
Turns out, not a great bit. Like, there is so many cuts throughout this fight. They are using so many extras. Like, it is so obvious. You never see their faces during anything strenuous. I did not like this fight. I thought it was dog shit.
I didn't either. That's why it lasted 25 seconds and they were thrown in the Easy Bake Oven.
Fair enough.
So they get out of the Easy Bake Oven, and I don't even remember what the fuck they talk about, but he's like, I want to break out, and Schwarzenegger's like, that's great, so do I. He's like, what do you need? He goes, I need a piece of metal. And he's like, okay. So his plan to get a piece of metal is he asks to see the warden because he says he's going to confess the location of the financial terrorist. Jim Caviezel, the warden, gives him a piece of paper and goes, write it down. So Arnold Schwarzenegger's just, he's bullshitting along, he's just talking, and Jim Caviezel's like, you got 5 seconds, you better write something down right now. And Schwarzenegger goes, fine, I'm done. And this was so dumb, but he just he just drew a little picture of a butt.
Drew a butt with an arrow to it.
Like, it wasn't like he wrote down, like, fuck you or, like, suck my cock.
No, he just drew a picture of a butt.
He just
like
drew a little butt.
Like a skinny guy's butt.
And that made me laugh.
It was the cheesiest thing ever. Like, Arnold Schwarzenegger's 80s-ish one-liners lack any pop in this whole movie.
So much so that one of his one-liners is he just drew a butt on a piece of paper.
Exactly. Not like, he didn't yell, it's up your ass, or something like that. It's just like, butt.
I drew a little butt. And because he drew a little butt, they waterboard him.
More than waterboard, they shove a hose, like, down his throat and just turn it on.
And so they like essentially drown him, and then this is what we were talking about earlier. They take the hose out of his mouth and he coughs up a bunch of water, and then for about 10 seconds he just makes the most Arnold Schwarzenegger sounds I think I've ever heard him make in my life.
And if you've seen any Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, then you know exactly what we're talking about, where he just sits there going, and he
just does it for way too long. And we said this to each other before, where I feel like the director just went, okay, Arnold, just make a bunch of those sounds you make. And he went, okay, I got it. And he just, and then they go, cut, we got it.
Cut. Good. We've got more than we need.
So he jumps up real quick and he reaches under the table and he grabs a drain grate, which is apparently not attached to the drain.
Which no one sees him do.
There's a lot of that in this.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, grab this, and then there's no pat-downs at any point. There's no metal detectors. We have things now in airports that can, like, find soft things under your clothes, and it's just, like, the millimeter waves. And they just, like, there's none of that in this super amazing prison, I guess.
Like, to skip ahead a lot, but just for an example, like, Stallone jumps off of a hospital bed onto, like a thing full of medical equipment, and he could have easily grabbed a syringe or a knife. They don't even bother checking him. That is the one place you'd be like, all right, get naked and pull your butt cheeks apart.
Yeah, exactly. And it turns out later on during that scene, all he grabs is, like, basically a packet of "don't eat this or you'll throw up."
And then he eats it and throws up.
But yeah, you're right. He could have put any number of weapons on himself. And actually, when he was sent to that scene, how did he get to the hospital? He was stabbed by Schwarzenegger with just a huge shiv.
Which could have gone wrong and killed him.
Well, not only that, though, but, like, apparently in Supermax Amazing Fantasyland prison, like, they can't even stop people from getting shivs. This prison's garbage.
It's really no better or worse than a normal prison. But they keep talking about it like, even while they're in it, they're like, I can't believe this place. And you're looking around it and you're like, it seems fine.
Yeah, it's like, I can believe it. We don't have one of these now. This really isn't special.
So he gets his piece of metal, and his plan is to use his piece of metal to heat up the rivets in the Easy Bake Oven, which should already be very hot.
So the real thing that he's doing is this metal. So the rivets are made of steel instead of aluminum. Steel expands more than aluminum does when it is heated. Aluminum has a very small thermal coefficient. So he uses this piece of metal to kind of get a little more surface area in the Easy Bake Oven to heat up the rivets, to cause them to expand more than the aluminum plating of the Easy Bake Oven, so that he can pop the rivets out and then peel back one of the panels and see where and try and get out of the isolation area. Because he was tapping on it when he was in there the first time, and he thinks that there's some kind of duct below it.
Okay, thanks, Professor Calculator. So he gets a fucking piece of metal and he gets out of the Easy Bake Oven.
Great.
And he's running around and he's climbing up this stuff. Oh, and also when they get in there again, he tells Arnold, "You need to create a diversion while I'm in there." So
for Arnold's like 5 minutes.
Right. So Arnold's diversion is just to scream in German.
Which would surprise any of us because none of us have ever heard him speak German before.
And it was so strange to hear Arnold Schwarzenegger actually speaking German that I was like, I'd rather have him be butchering the English language.
And
stop, please stop.
And it was so strange that Jim Caviezel himself had to go in and check it out.
Be like, you're speaking German? Ugh.
Arnold, stop. And he was like, I can't. I'm speaking German.
I can't get out of it once a minute. So Sylvester Stallone climbs all the way up, and he opens this grate and finds out that he's on a boat. Oh, my God.
So the prison is actually on a giant old, way too rusted cargo container, and somehow they haven't felt the motion of the ocean or anything.
Smelled seawater or... And, like, do these prison guards get to leave?
No.
Do they... It's like
Next
space
question.
jail. How do they get fuel?
No.
All right, never mind. Who cares? He climbs back down and he grabs a wire, like accidentally, and pulls it out of the wall. And
rips this wire out of the wall.
And the wire causes all of the pipes to explode, which I don't know enough about ships, but that doesn't seem like that's what that would do.
It also struck me that way.
He pulls a wire out,
which
and
was
then
clearly an electrical wire based on the arcing sparks that happened when he did it, and then suddenly...
And then suddenly 5 water pipes just explode as if they were all connected to the electricity of that one wire.
And so suddenly there's a giant leak. I don't know how Stallone was going to get back to his cell if this hadn't happened, because Schwarzenegger's distraction only lasted so long when suddenly all the isolation cells are filling up with water. And so this was also kind of funny for me because, like, Stallone, as he's climbing down and these pipes burst, they just burst all over him. And so he was going to go back to his cell just, like, drenched. And I was like, how is he going to explain that?
Well, they're already all drenched. They're covered in sweat. I mean, he would have smelled like seawater.
But so as he's going back, though, like, all the isolation cells start flooding. And so this creates a further distraction to kind of add to his time that he has to work with. And so then he climbs up this ladder. By the way, as he climbs up the ladder into his cell,
can I guess it?
He starts to drown. He's like, I can't climb the ladder back fast enough. Well, then just fucking tread water. What are you doing?
He can't climb the ladder faster than the water's running, but he won't let go of the ladder.
But he won't stop just climbing the ladder, like, in a normal way. And I was just like, what the hell is going on?
And eventually, he only gets out because his body's full of air and floats to the top.
And it's like, wow, this would have been way easier than climbing the ladder. I don't know what I was doing just climbing the ladder. I mean, I don't know.
You think he gets back in his cell and he's like, the ladder? Why did I do that? The ladder?
God damn it.
Thank God no one was there.
Or, I mean, what ladder? I've never been out of my cell.
Oh, he's talking out loud while he says that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He has no internal monologue. He's Sylvester Stallone. Didn't you watch Rocky?
So Arnold's like, where are we? And he's like, I don't know. We're on a boat or something. By the way, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Stallone weren't just here right now. That was me doing an impression. I know it was that flawless that you couldn't tell.
So that your acting there kind of points out, though, a bit of Arnold's acting. And I'd like to stop for a moment. For the most part, during the bits where Stallone first meets Arnold and up through now where they're kind of hashing out the plan, Arnold's acting is terrible. Like, their scenes are so low energy. Like, Arnold's dragging down Stallone, and Stallone is barely in it to begin with, and so it pulls all the energy out of the scenes. I once read an interview from Christian Bale talking about Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight Rises, and he talked about how the energy that Ledger brought always drew the attention of the scene to him, and so Christian Bale had to keep upping his own energy to kind of get the attention back on him during his own parts. And it caused, like, a lot of escalation in the movie, which really drove it to these crazy scenes that were really high octane and really well done. And I feel like the exact opposite is happening through so much of this movie with Stallone and Schwarzenegger. It's just they each bring each other down so much through so many of the dialogues.
Well, I think what this movie suffers from any other movie that they're ever in is, yes, they can't act. Neither of these guys can really act. But the movies that they're in are, they say 5 things and then they shoot 40 guys.
Exactly. They're usually adrenaline pumpers, so that, like, they let their fists do the talking.
So when you're watching a movie with them where they don't do that until the last 10 minutes, you're just left with their acting, and that's when it really comes through, is like, God, these guys are fucking horrible.
I feel like, between the two, I feel like Stallone has some acting chops.
Yes, he does. I mean, say what you will about how he sounds dumb. He writes a lot of the movies he's in. He wrote the first Rocky, and he's pretty good in the first Rocky.
People always talk about him sounding dumb, but that, like, they usually take on his Rocky accent when they do, and, like, he's playing a character in that movie, and that character is supposed to sound like that.
Right, he's a good actor, but like you said,
I think Stallone has some acting chops.
But like you said, he didn't want to be in this movie.
Yeah, like, I feel like Arnold really brought down Stallone in this, and Stallone really didn't have a lot, to begin with, just given how old he is and how just, like, slowed down most of his acting is.
So after that, Jim Caviezel figures out that Arnold Schwarzenegger and Stallone are friends, and that's a bad thing, and they're probably trying to figure out how to escape. Because it's around this point that Jim Caviezel reveals to Stallone that he knows who he really is, which again, why have that be a secret in the first place? Because it didn't really add anything. He didn't
even know who Stallone was for the longest time until fucking what's-his-face called him and was like, by the way, you have Ray Breslin.
But then why even do that? I mean, we already talked about it.
And then not only that, though, like, it was weird that Stallone's money guy also knew who Arnold Schwarzenegger's guy was and was like, well, we need to stop him because, like, I, too, care about this information that you're getting, even though up till now, none of that would make sense.
No, and it continues to not make sense.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird crossover in this movie.
But that's not explained, and when it is explained, the explanation is like, yeah, but why, though?
Yeah, it's...
And so, once he reveals that he knows who Stallone is, he proceeds to just deprive Stallone of sleep for, again, because we can't tell the passage of time. Is he depriving him of sleep for 2 days? Is he depriving him of sleep for, like, weeks and weeks? We don't know.
But during this part, I feel like is the first time, like, this really seems like a shitty place. Because for the rest of the time, it seemed like they'd had an easy ride, but now suddenly Sylvester Stallone's getting daily beatings. He's getting, like, kept up all night. He's going to the isolation cell a lot. Suddenly, like, this is the first time where it's just like, oh, shit. Like, this is... I don't know. This was the first time that I actually felt something for Stallone's character.
Well, yeah, and they're only doing it to one guy, though. It's not like they're doing this to everybody. They just do it to him, and, like...
Yeah.
I mean, it sucks, but it's not... It doesn't make the prison seem any scarier.
True. And so the whole reason they do this is because ever since Stallone got there, Arnold Schwarzenegger's character had suddenly been keeping his chin up. And he was like, you know what, maybe I can hold out. Maybe I'm not going to tell them where my guy is. Fuck these guys.
He's drawn butts on everything.
He's drawn butts on stuff. And so Stallone, they have to break Stallone in order to break Arnold, in order to get Arnold's information. And so Stallone starts like, and this is where Stallone starts cracking. He's like, you're going to have to use me to get to Arnold. I'll be able to tell you, you know, where his guy is, but you gotta fucking lay off me.
But he only does that so that he can buy time to escape.
Yeah, and there's a lot of those like double crosses in this between.
But they're not even really double crosses, because a double cross in a movie should be like, oh, I don't know who he's really working for, what's going on here, but you know exactly what he's doing.
Well, so if it's a twist, yeah.
Which this isn't. So his next plan is, so he goes to the doctor by having Schwarzenegger stab him in the leg. He gets to the doctor. He does the thing where he jumps off the table and just steals a bunch of shit that nobody seems to care about. And he uses it to build the shittiest looking sextant I've ever seen. And for those of you who don't know what a sextant is, it's that old-timey mechanical triangle looking thing you see in old movies where you stare up at the stars and then you can calculate your longitude from where you are based on the North Star, blah, blah, blah. And then there's just a montage of him getting like a pen, and then he gets like a guy's glasses and he makes a sextant. So their plan is, like, he knows that we're on a boat, but we don't know where we are. So if we get the sextant outside, we can use it to figure out where we are, and then that still won't help us escape, really, but whatever.
But at least we'll know where we are, and that'll help him sleep at night.
Yeah, right. So the way they figure that they're like, okay, how do we get this outside at night? So they just exploit a Muslim for being a Muslim by being like, we got to wrangle him into our escape plan so that he can tell Jim Caviezel that we're escaping, but he won't really tell him because he wants to escape too. So he'll be like, I'll tell you how they're escaping if you let me go outside tonight to do my evening prayers to Allah under the stars. But I thought the whole point of this prison was so that nobody knew they were on a boat.
Yeah, right.
Why? And they just let this guy outside on the top of a boat.
Yeah, just more and more stuff being dumb.
And he uses the sextant, they find out where they are, and then he just... I don't know. This was the part that bothered me because I'm like, this guy wouldn't know this stuff. Where he's like, okay, we're at this longitude and the water flows this way in the toilet, so we're in the northern hemisphere. But it was sunny with rain, so that means we're somewhere near here. And the fish came in yesterday, and the fish was this kind of fish and it was fresh, so that means we're near this part of the world. Like, this guy would not know that shit. I mean, you're a smart guy, Matt. Yeah. Would you be able to figure that out?
I wouldn't have even made the sextant.
I would have just been like, I guess I'm dying in this prison.
Yep. Sorry, I'm not Sylvester Escape from Prison Stallone.
I am not either, and I don't think he should be.
Fair enough. But he is, and so he makes the sextant, and so as Stallone keeps going to the doctor for, like, bullshit reasons to try and build the rapport, until finally he makes him guilty enough to actually, and this is how he initiates the escape plan, he actually gets the doctor to send out a message to his people to come and send, help out to the ship at these latitude and longitudes. Schwarzenegger's people to send help to this latitude and longitude on this day, and just, and that's all they had.
The way they're going to start the breakout is they're going to start a prison riot. So, keep in mind, this is a long, long movie. This movie's 2 hours long. So
and it feels long, because right up till now, it's pretty slow.
It's dragging at this point. So, they've been talking, they've been building sextants and getting involved with these guys. Schwarzenegger's drawing pictures of butts. Stallone is, like, melting metal with other metal. They're doing all this stuff. They start a prison riot. And this is where they're going to go, okay, initiate escape plan. Their escape plan is take a gun off of a guard and shoot your way out.
Which was just, like...
And they don't even know, they don't know how to get out. They just start going to doors and hoping they get there.
Yeah, too many parts of this prison just lead to the surface.
Yeah.
Which is pretty funny. I guess it's I hadn't thought of it that way before, but yeah, that's just like any time you leave the actual prison area, it just leads straight to a pipe that goes up to a hatch that goes up to the surface of the ship. But yeah, I guess I hadn't really been annoyed with the shooting your way out before until you had kind of complained about it, and I guess that the only thing you can compare it to is like the Shawshank Redemption, where he doesn't shoot his way out. He times everything, he plans everything, and he digs his way out super slowly. And
these guys do it in literally 8 minutes. Like, they say we have 8 minutes.
And so they boost one guy up to a platform that the guards were on, which, why were they within boosting up distance? And then how had no one done that before?
Right? How did no guard ever get his feet tugged on?
And so they just boost him up, they grab a gun, they shoot off the other guard, and then it's away they go.
And the only reason I can think that this movie ended this way, like, if this movie starred anybody else, it would be a big elaborate plan. But it's Schwarzenegger and Stallone. For the last 20 minutes, they each need to have a gun. And so they go to a hatch and they can't open it, even though in the beginning of the movie, Stallone just opens a hatch. They're all supposed to be magnetically locked except for that one, I guess. So they're like, oh, we got to go down to the engine room and
when he breaks the power, that might have been what did it.
Oh, you mean the wire that was controlling the pipes from exploding?
That might have also been the wire that controls the hatch.
That wire controlled everything.
Apparently.
There's just a bunch of short little vignettes that happen in this last scene of them escaping.
There's a lot of things that feel like punching cards.
Yeah, like, okay, there needs to be a shootout, so the Arab guy isn't really important because nobody knows him, so give him 2 guns and let him have a shootout with the guards where he eventually dies. Check.
Sacrifices himself, stalls for time.
Right, got it. Stallone is the lead in this movie, and Vinnie Jones is in it, so they have to fight, and Vinnie Jones dies. Check. 5 more and we get a free sandwich. So he shuts the power off.
No, the part where he shuts the power off, you can't skip over what happens.
Why? What happened?
So, first they try to get to the hatch, it's magnetically closed, whatever, so they split up. Arnold Schwarzenegger goes up to wait by the hatch, and Stallone is going to go shut off the power. He fights Vinny and wins. Schwarzenegger's still up there waiting. after Vinny goes down, you hear in the power room, they're calling down and they're like, Stallone's on his way. He's going to come get you. And he's like, yeah, I see him. He's here. I'll take care of it. This guy grabs the wrench and is ready to fight Stallone. And on the radio, you just hear them go, no, wait. And Stallone just punches him out in one shot and just knocks him the fuck out. So anyway, he beep bop boops, shuts down the power grid, and Arnold gets to the chopper. And then
oh my God, that was a missed opportunity. Why did he not say that? There is a helicopter that Stallone has to get to. How did he not say get to the chopper? Oh my God.
Because this movie wasn't made by Arnold Schwarzenegger fans like we are.
It should have been. But you had to have loved this part like I did. So
you knew Arnold Schwarzenegger the
right.
second you saw that mounted machine gun.
Wait. So Schwarzenegger gets out and Stallone isn't out yet, and he's running over to the helicopter, and there's a guy on an M60 just blowing all these guards away, and he gets shot. So in the cheesiest slow motion I have ever seen in my life, Schwarzenegger walks up to this machine gun, picks it up, slowly turns around. I think he turns like 3 times.
Schwarzenegger was so old and lethargic in this movie, you didn't need to put him in slow-mo.
And it's just like, basically, they could have had a little scroll at the bottom of the screen going, hey, see, he's got a gun now.
Like, hey, he's doing the thing that he did in that one movie a long time ago.
And he pulls the trigger and 20 guys just fall over dead. I don't even think they get shot by bullets. I think they just die.
I think they just die from going, oh my God, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
It's so cool.
And so, yeah.
And then there's just the stupid gunfight.
And then for the next 10 minutes, it's a gunfight straight out of a video game where, like,
right.
Guards are pouring out of every orifice on this ship and just getting murdered by an M60 that Arnold Schwarzenegger's holding.
And Stallone gets out because he flushes himself out of the water pipe of the bottom of the ship, and he would have gotten sucked into the propellers and chopped up, but that doesn't happen.
Yeah, that scene makes no sense.
He would have never gotten... Like, that's exactly where the water is flowing towards the propeller. And he gets out, he gets on the helicopter, he's climbing, he tells Schwarzenegger to drop him a gun, he drops him a gun, Jim Caviezel's now on the ship shooting at him, and these guys could not be better shots.
It was the dumbest thing, too. So, like, Jim Caviezel, who is just the warden, all we know him as the warden, he walks out and suddenly he's just laser shot with a pistol, shooting out the rungs of Stallone's ladder on the helicopter. And
while it's flying around.
And so Stallone is like, oh yeah, well, I'll be even better pistol shot. So he has Schwarzenegger, who's holding an M60 machine gun, drop him a pistol so that he can do something that apparently Schwarzenegger can't do with a machine gun, which is shoot out a bunch of oil barrels on the deck of a ship, because I said this is like a video game, and boy is it. He shoots a bunch of barrels, and it just blows the shit out of, like, the top quarter of the ship.
Do you remember... So he blows the ship up, he blows this gasoline up, and the warden gets exploded. Do you remember Schwarzenegger's worst one-liner he's ever said?
I don't remember it. I hope you wrote it down, because it was the worst one-liner he's ever said.
He goes, have a lovely day, asshole.
God, it was his one-liners in this. Like I said.
Have a lovely day, asshole. And it's not, first
of all.
It was
only marginally better than drawing a butt.
I think drawing a butt should now be his new... Every movie he's in from now on, he should just draw a tiny butt.
So Terminator Genesis.
He should just be drawn
the Terminators. He's just going to do the little printy thing that robots do with their hands, and it's just going to print out a butt.
So here's the thing with that one-liner. One, it's not clever.
Nope.
Because just what he says is not. It's not like it's referencing anything either. If the warden, every time the warden, like, beat you to death or waterboarded you, was like, well, back to your cell, have a lovely day, then it would make more sense. They just needed him to say something. So they just told him to say that. Or asked him to say whatever he wanted to say, and he said that.
It seems so toned down. It didn't have any edge to it. It wasn't referencing like some dumb thing in the movie. It wasn't even like a pun. It was just It was awful. I couldn't have been less satisfied with that line.
So they fly away in their helicopter and they land in Africa Town somewhere. And in the dumbest reveal ever, it is shown that Schwarzenegger was actually the guy that he was pretending to be hiding. He is the financial terrorist. And the woman who approached Stallone to be in that prison was Schwarzenegger's daughter.
Or
and
wife,
they named him,
or daughter, or I don't know.
or whatever, who cares? And they named him Portis so that Schwarzenegger would know that he is there to help him. And then a 50 Cent suffocates Vincent D'Onofrio until he's unconscious, and then they lock him in a car and put him in a cargo ship.
And we're just wrapping that up because, honestly, no one cares about any of it.
Nobody cares. And then the movie's just over. Now the movie's over, I have a lot of questions about this prison ship.
I will answer all of them.
Okay, number one. Did the boat sink?
Yes.
Okay, so all the prisoners died.
Yep.
And all the guards are dead?
Let's hope.
And nobody actually knows that happened.
Or cares.
I wanted to, know, did the prisoners take over the ship and then made it the largest pirate ship ever?
and here's the thing. In a prison, you'd think you wouldn't want any guns, because the whole point of, the ship is, it's super isolated. So even if, worst case scenario, all of the prisoners get out, they riot, they kill all the guards, they're still on this ship, and the Coast Guard or something can come out, storm it with guns, and retake it over. The guards on this ship have enough guns to invade Grenada. They could fucking take over the 100 smallest countries easily.
One guy steps up to power. He's got all the armed guards. He goes, "Point this ship at Nauru."
They could easily take over Nauru. You and I could take over Nauru. This ship could take over Brazil.
So they just point it at the smallest Caribbean island they know of, and they just storm it and take it over and rename it Prisoner Town.
I don't know why they'd go all the way to the Caribbean, considering they were in Morocco at the time. But
I don't think they could take over Morocco.
Did you see how many armed guards were on this ship, Zach?
Yes, I know.
There were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds.
But Stallone killed, 7,000 of them?
True. Okay, so there's only 5,000 left. So maybe they couldn't have taken over Morocco.
I don't know. Okay, so now that we're done...
Final impressions.
Honestly, after talking about it with you, you convinced me how bad it is.
It's not great.
I came into this sort of liking it because I literally just watched it. By the way, I'm glad you kept stalling on when we were recording these because I hadn't watched the movie at all.
Hey, me either.
So, but I came out of it really liking it and going okay, that was kind of fun. But after talking about it with you, it was dumb. It really was.
Yep.
The acting is not good. Nothing really happens in it. For a movie about a guy who is supposed to be an expert guy at escaping prisons, his plan just fizzles out to shoot people, and...
He escapes from the prison.
And yeah, that's true. And it is entirely too long. This movie is way, way too long.
Yeah, they could easily... There's enough content in here to where they could chop out a half an hour of it, really.
Easily. Well, I guess I'll go into suggestion. Well, no, give you a review first.
No, do your suggestions, do your ratings. So,
I know I suggested this at the beginning, and if you listened to me and you stopped listening and you watched the movie, I'm sorry. I was wrong an hour ago when I said that. I really was, because after talking about it, it's oh my god, it's so stupid. Nothing makes sense. The little reveals, you're just yeah, okay, who cares? You really are. When Arnold Schwarzenegger's oh, I'm that guy, you're all right, okay, what does that mean now?
Nothing.
Nothing. But if you want to watch a good movie about people escaping from a prison, watch, I think it's 1986, Clint Eastwood's Alcatraz. It is obviously set when Alcatraz was open, and it's about the only possible escape attempt that was successful. They never actually found these guys. They assumed they drowned, but they could have easily made it. And it's about how, in real life, guys escaped from a prison that was more or less a boat. And It's really good. It's really entertaining. There's not any action in it because a movie like that wouldn't have any action in it.
Right? If you actually do a good job escaping from prison, there shouldn't be any action.
Right, there shouldn't be a gunfight at the end. You should sort of just slink. You should sort of just slink away.
If you've done your job right.
Which is what they do in that movie, and I highly recommend Escape from Alcatraz. I'd put it in my top 100 movies. It's really good.
Top 100? You got to be able to do better than that.
Like for Alcatraz?
And so you think it is one of your 100 favorite movies?
Yeah, it's
not maybe like one of your top 20 or something like that.
No, it's not. It's not top 20. Tremors is up. It beats Tremors. Beats it. Tremors 1, 2. Tremors 1 and 2 beat Alcatraz for me.
Okay, well, I can't argue with that. Tremors 1 and 2 beats a lot of movies for me as well.
Oh, there you go. Take it away, buddy.
My God, I couldn't be a bigger fan of Bert. So, don't get me started on that. Okay, so, overall impressions, yeah, this movie wasn't great. I'm glad it made money, but I'm kind of surprised. But I guess I'm glad. The action, like once the movie gets down to action, this is a pretty good movie. You're pretty on the edge of your seat during the escape bits. Everything there works pretty well. While Schwarzenegger and Stallone's fight is pretty shitty, Stallone's fight with the main prison guard, pretty passable. The gunfight, pretty good. The prison riot, pretty exciting. All that, I enjoyed it. Stallone's the first prison escape, also decent. Not too amazing, not too long. They kind of just tried to bang it out quick. All the acting in between, though, like, it was awful. Like I said, Schwarzenegger brought down Stallone, and Stallone didn't have a lot left, and the energy in the scenes was terrible, and they both felt like they were just half-assing their lines so bad. So yeah, I definitely agree with you 100%. The movie was way longer than it should have been. Just that middle part tended to drag quite a bit. I did enjoy most of the stuff that was very focused on the prison escape, though. So overall, I didn't hate this movie.
You completely swapped from what you said at the beginning.
No, I never said I hated the whole movie. I just, like I said, there's a lot of shitty parts in this movie, and it's not a great movie. But overall, I didn't hate it.
All right, fair enough. What do you suggest?
So I suggest The Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, nice.
Not as directly related to the nautical prison theme as
I don't
yours.
think that wasn't the theme I was going for.
Well, Escape from Alcatraz, they gotta get across water, similar.
True.
But yeah, Shawshank Redemption, pretty classic prison escape movie. Also, there's only one movie to recommend when talking about escaping from prisons: Escape from Space Jail.
Oh yeah. Oh,
obviously.
What was that movie called?
No, it's called Escape from Space Jail.
No, wait, no, it's not.
Zach, they're in space. It's a jail, and they got
to
escape
shut up
from
for
it.
A minute?
It's called Escape from Space Jail.
Let me think about it for 2 seconds.
I'm really trying not to.
Lockout. It's called Lockout with Guy Pearce.
I know, with Guy Pearce.
You're right, though. That movie was way better than this. I'm going to go out on a limb and... Yeah, I do. I'm going to go out on a limb and say the acting is better in it.
The acting is better, and the action in that movie is pretty exciting.
You know what? You know what Guy Pearce has in that movie? Way more than Sylvester Stallone has in this movie?
Testosterone.
No. Snappy one-liners.
If he has anything, and it's not human emotions, it's snappy one-liners.
Arnold Schwarzenegger has 3 in this one. One of them is just a drawing of a butt, and they're terrible.
They're terrible.
Compared to Guy Pearce, whose every other line is a snappy one-liner.
Whose every single line is a snappy one-liner. Not every other.
What? And you know what? When every line of dialogue you speak is a snappy one-liner, some of them are going to be at least okay.
Some of them are going to land. God, what
He's
an
not
awful
drawing
movie.
pictures. He's not drawing pictures of tiny butts or nothing.
You know what? It would have been well within that character's wheelhouse to do so.
It would have been. Oh, yeah, I agree. See Lockout. Lockout's a better film than this.
In fact, you know what? I feel like it took this film to make me appreciate Lockout, because up until now I would have been like, that movie was shit. But yeah, I kind of like Lockout in retrospect now.
If it was the same in this movie, there would have been another ship twice the size directly alongside of it that was just the ocean. That was just the ocean police.
The ocean police barge, which would send out just tons of jet skis.
That would all explode.
Which would
instantly.
all get gunned down by the prison ship's automated external cannons, which it had for some reason. And now that we're framing it in terms of that, God, Lockout's an awful movie. It's back to being an awful movie. Don't watch it.
I say watch it. Well, I guess we're done.
There's only one thing left to say.
First, if you want to send us
plugs.
If you want to send us an email, you can send us an email at moviehotdog@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter at moviehotdog, or you can follow us on Facebook at This Movie Was a Hot Dog. And Matt, what do we say?
This movie was a hot dog.